Hi, my name's Omar Sanchez, and welcome to my video on network performance and sniffing. For this video, what, as you can see in the diagram here, what I plan to demonstrate is the ability to set up Wireshark to perform packet capture over the network, use the performance monitoring tool to analyze the performance metrics, specifically network performance, and use PowerShell and show you PowerShell commands that allow us to perform critical functions for today's project. It's very it's a very simple project. After we complete the setup of Wireshark and performance monitor, I will go into my Windows 10 client and using PowerShell perform a few other tasks. However, the major thing that I'm planning to do is do a file transfer, a large file transfer from the client PC to our server and then capture those packets and capture that monitoring data live and then look at the metrics and go over on how to review them and some things that stand out to me. The scope of the project here is simply proof of concept and this is this recording videos is new to me, so please bear in mind um, that I tend to stutter, hesitate in my words, and just please bear with me on that a little bit. However, without further ado, let's get started. To get started, I want to look at, I'm using Oracle VirtualBox to virtualize a server and a client. If you saw my previous video, you saw how I added the client to this server and added it and joined it to the domain. There, so these two are connected together at the moment, and because they're live, I can just switch over to them. Now, firstly, I'm gonna head over to my server. I'm gonna log in, and I want to ensure that I have, first of all, that I have connectivity with my client system. Now, I know the IP for my client system is gonna be 172.16.0.100. Excellent. So this is good. That means we verified connectivity with them. Now I want to go and I just want to get into the big scale of the project. To do so, I will type in the following command. This command, mkdir, stands for make directory, and then you use that in conjunction with the destination. So what this means is create a folder named big files found at the C directory. Hit enter, and as you can see, it gives us a report in directory C. There is in fact a folder named big files. Next, I will set the properties. Actually, before I set the properties, I want to create this and make this into a shared file. To do that, I use the following command. I use the command netshare. Call it big files. And basically set who has access to this share. Excellent. And then the folder itself, I will set the permissions for it. Keep in mind that the permissions I'm about to set are not great for security, as I'm granting everyone access to my folder. However, because it's in a lab environment, it's my personal virtual machine. No one else is going to connect to it, so it's not a problem. However, in the real world, make sure to speak with your boss, or you at least you understand who is supposed to have access to these files. Back to this, I set the iCackles command, set it for the folder of big files, and I just granted everyone full permissions. Oh, made a slight syntax error right here. Excellent, perfect. So at this stage, just in the using Windows PowerShell, we created a file called Big Files, a folder called Big Files, mm, create, turned it into a network share, and we also set some permissions, which was for everyone. Now, let's do a few things before moving forward with Performance Monitor. I want to show that, first of all, the file does exist. So let's open our File Explorer, go to your C drive, and you will find a file called Big Files, or the folder called Big Files, created today, just a couple of minutes ago. Perfect. And if you open it, it works as you expect. There's no information in there because we just created it. Now, something else you can do is if you go to your Big Files folder and go to Properties, right click on it, go to Properties, and go to Sharing, you can actually see that by using the net share command, we actually enabled sharing with it. And so what this means is this folder is able to be mapped across your domain with another user, another system. And let's go ahead and do that right now. I want to connect to this file location, which is our big files, from our client PC that we have established connectivity with here earlier, which is that 172.16.0.100. And I'm just gonna copy, see if this works, if the copy feature works across the VM. So here I'm in my client 3 PC, and just to show you that it is the client 3 PC, here it is, associated with my domain. Next, I want to just one more time confirm that this is in fact what we were pinging to earlier from the server, 172.16.0.100, and then we'll just verify that really quickly. That was the command I sent, and it's 100% excellent. So I'm just going to minimize this. Now, I'm going to open my File Explorer, and I'm going to go to my C drive to show you that Big Files does not exist here. In order to map that drive, that folder to this PC, I want you to go to just right-click your PC, map network drive, and then so I already had done it for practice earlier, but you would use that file location we looked at earlier, which is found in your File Explorer, your C drive in your server, right? So remember we went to Big Files, right-click, go to Properties and Sharing. You see this is the network drive location, the network location. How you're gonna, what you're gonna type in to find this specific folder, and that's a DC-VB1 backslash big files. So let's go ahead and type it in. DC-VB1 backslash big. file. At this point, just hit finish. And as you can see, it didn't give you like a confirmation prompt. However, you can tell it succeeded because it actually opens up the drive here. To see this drive as in relation to the rest, just click on your PC on the left, and you'll see that here's our big files drive. Perfect. Now, to test this out, to show you that it actually indeed is the exact same big files from before, just go to your desktop, right click, go to new, and then hit text document. And then here, we're gonna just name it client 3. And I'm actually gonna open it up, the notepad, and say, hello server, save it, and then just drag and drop to that folder. So it'll make a copy of it in the network in the network share. Now to prove that it exists, we just go back to our server, open up the big files folder, and here's our client 3 file. Open it, hello server, and now we say hello client. And this text is just me uh, just having fun with the system. You see, I haven't set the permissions correctly for this. So it's actually giving me an error. Okay. So I basically had to change the name, and by changing the name, it created a new file that I created there. But because I'm not the immediate owner of client 3, because I don't have the permission set to it, to these text files specifically, then that's where the errors come in. However, hit client 3 response here from the server. I go back to our client, and here it is, the response. Hello, client. Excellent. And I just wanted to show that really quickly before moving forward, as like a side, as a smaller scope item that may help a few of you guys. I know it's helped me a ton, just being familiar with how to map network shares. And here's a small proof of that. Great. So now I'm going to go back to my server so we can proceed with uh, actually doing the really meaty portions of this, of what we're doing here today. So we have our big files here. I'm actually going to close Windows PowerShell for now, and I'm going to close the File Explorer. And what I want to do now is I'm going to actually open the performance monitor, right? And then actually you can do it from PowerShell by typing in the following command, perfmon, and that will open up your performance monitor. Otherwise, you can just search it up as, in your search drive here, performance monitor, same one. Great. So under performance monitor, what we really want to do is we want to do something called create a new data collector set. And and what a data collector set is basically what it says in the name. It'll collect specific data for us. However, these are very flexible, and I want to create a template that's going to that's going to monitor specific markers that we decide for this specific type of server or system that I have or I want. And it's going to act as a template that we can then export and transfer over to another server with similar requirements if that's something we want to do. So to do that, all we have to do is go over to data collector sets. Sorry, go to monitoring tools and go to performance monitor, hover over new, click on data collector set, and then we want to name it. So this set, we'll want to call it network performance, and hit next. And I'm just going to leave everything as default. I don't want to start it just yet. Excellent. So we have created the collector set, and so then that's going to actually appear down here. So you want to go to the data collector sets forest and click on user defined, and you'll see that right here's the collector set that we created. However, we haven't really defined any of the markers that we want it to look for. To do so, just right click over it and hover over new, and then click on data collector. Now you get a new window to see, and it's going to ask you what type of data collection would you like to do. Again, I'm going to label it network performance. I'm going to hit next. And then now we're able to actually define the type of counters we want to uh, be have the system basically monitoring, and then it'll actually give us a report on whatever, on whatever. I think this is a great way to define a baseline for your servers and for your systems. However, now what we're doing is we're going to just click on add. For this example today, I've selected out some specific counters I want to look at. So to do that, I'm gonna go to network adapter, and I'm gonna get the bytes total. I'm gonna add that, and then the current bandwidth, and add that. Next, I want to look for TCP/IP, performance diagnostics. Here we go. I'm not doing the per CPU one, just the standard performance diagnostics. And here I'm looking for TCP checksum errors. Right here, select add, and TCP timeouts. Select add. Lastly, I want to look for TCP version 4, and all I'm looking for is connections active. Select add. So there you go. So now these counters on the right side are the ones we selected, and then everything else on the left these are all other counters you can add to your specific data collection templates as as you need, depending on what work you're doing. So there's a lot of to go into when it comes to these counters um, that are outside of the scope of both my knowledge and this video. So, however, the with the ones on the right is more than enough for for doing the file transfer and monitoring that. So now I'm going to hit OK, hit next, and finish. Perfect. So now we have our network performance data collector set ready to go. Yep, all set. And you can actually, we're going to look on how to start it here in a second. Um, it's right click, but we're not actually going to start it just yet. I want to first move on to uh, enable, like starting my Wireshark. instance, and she's preparing that for when we are ready to do the file transfer. So I'll just go ahead and minimize this and minimize this, and just go ahead and open Wireshark. Um, so if you're not familiar with Wireshark, uh, there's a lot of there are a lot of like training videos that can help you with it. Um, all it is basically like it says is a network analyzer. It'll actually collect all the network traffic being passed over, being passed through basically, and you can capture specific packets based on these filters and the type of network connection adapter you are selecting. And you can actually, we're going to look on how to start it here in a second. Um, it's right click, but we're not actually going to start it just yet. I want to first move on to uh, enable, like starting my Wireshark instance, and she's preparing that for when we are ready to do the file transfer. So I'll just go ahead and minimize this and minimize this, and just go ahead and open Wireshark. Um, so if you're not familiar with Wireshark, uh, there's a lot of there are a lot of like training videos that can help you with it. Um, all it is basically like it says is a network analyzer. It'll actually collect all the network traffic being passed over, being passed through basically, and you can capture specific packets based on these filters and the type of network connection adapter you are selecting. Again, I'm still uh, learning Wireshark. However, I know you can see all types of protocols. You can see basic payload information, and you'll see the acknowledgments, the replies, the sent packets. So it's a really powerful tool. To set it up though, uh, very straightforward. I'm going to select the NIC that is associated with as a connection between my system and my client system. So going back to our diagram, right? Select the internal NIC connection, right? Which is this one. And I'm actually just going to put IP. I wanted to scan for all IP once we're ready, right? Perfect. So now at this point, we can actually go over to our client system because we're ready to begin this file transfer. Now all we're gonna do here is just open up Windows PowerShell, which is gonna create a new projects folder for us in the C drive. Okay, and then we're gonna change directory to go to that folder from within PowerShell. So projects, okay. And then lastly, one more command. This command is actually going to be the one that creates the test file that we want. It's going to be a very large file, hence all those zeros. Perfect. Uh, Now, before we move forward, let's just double check that our commands work, that our file exists, and so does our folder. So I went ahead and opened up File Explorer. So I'm going to look for our C drive now. And as you can see, we have a new folder called Projects created today, just like a minute ago. So, and then within here, we should see our test1 file. Yep, here it is. Perfect. And it appears to be about about 1 gigabyte file, so decent size. Now we have all the pieces together. Let's pull up our diagram again. So we have the pieces together, right? So we have Wireshark and the performance monitor systems open in our server, awaiting for us to start them. In our Windows 10 PC, we have our file that we're about to transfer over, and we have the internet connection established between the two. So yeah, things are looking good. So we're at the step now where we just want to start the monitoring tools so that once we do the transfer, we can analyze it through them. Okay. So I'm gonna go now and return to our server. Okay. To so for Wireshark, it's very simple. I just select my NIC, identify the filters I want to use, and then just click on this blue button that says Start Capturing Packets. And at this point, it's just like an ear. It's just listening. You can see some acknowledgments or like awake acknowledgments between these two systems communicating, which is what we want to see. And now I'm going to go ahead and open up our performance monitor. And we will look for our network performance data collector set that we created. And you can right click and hit start, as well as just click the start button here, which I'm going to do. So it's doing the collection, and as you can see, it'll has a specific file location that it's going to be dropping it off at. Um, but that's running, which is great. It's what we want. So now with our DC or our server listening, in other words, or having our monitoring tools listening for any type of transfers or connections between the two systems, we are now able to return back to our client system and then send the file over. Okay, here we are. And I'm going to use Windows PowerShell for this. So here's the command. We're going to use the robo copy. Right? And we're going to use the same destination that we used to identify our share, when we added the network share. It's going to be DC, sorry, DCVB1, and then big files. Okay. So this is just saying copy the projects folder into big files, which is essentially, and within that the projects folder is our file. So hit OK. You see there's a percentage happening here. While this is happening, I'm actually going to go to our server. I'm going to, yeah, we see the transfer happening right here. And if you're familiar with TCP, you know the sequencing is happening right here, which is great. Just going to go back and check. Yeah, it's only at 30%. It's actually a 10 gig file, which is bigger than I expected it to be. But that's great. It's a large file, and we need, performing this test. I'm just gonna let it run in the background. I'll just fast forward the video, and we are back. As you can see, uh, Wireshark stopped, updating with the information, and that tells us that that the file transfer finished. I went over to our client 3 PC, and then we see that it gives us some metrics, but it finished indeed, which is awesome. So now we have this information. How do we get it, right? How do we take it for ourselves? First thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go over to Wireshark and I'm gonna stop capturing packets. And I'm actually gonna go to File and I'm gonna hit Save As. I'm gonna save this file to our directory. I'm sorry, to our desktop. I'm gonna name it just large file Wireshark. I'm gonna hit Save. So we actually saved the Wireshark report. All right. Anyway, we're done with Wireshark now. Um, and for those of you a bit unfamiliar with Wireshark, you can actually see like packet information uh, here on the bottom. Just select the packet that interests you, um, and then you'll see, for example, you'll see layer 2 information right here, MAC addresses, and then layer 3, layer 4 information here. However, going back to it, we can see, the source was 172.16.0.100, which we know is our client 3. Our destination is our dot 0.1, which is our, our server, which is this is exactly what we expected. Um, but yeah, as I said, we're done with Wireshark. We should move on. We'll go back to Performance Monitor, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and stop it. And now that it's stopped, we can actually go back to it and right click, and we want to click on latest report, and then just to make sure we're looking at the correct counters, go over to the left and click on network performance PLG, because this is where the counters that we modified are at, that we selected are at. Let's maximize the page, and we can see this big mountain spike here, and that's actually correlated with the network adapter or the NIC that we were monitoring in Wireshark. So it's not labeled here as internal NIC, but it's the same NIC, just through familiarity. You can actually see that if you go to again, adapter options and then go to change adapters. We can see that this is internal NIC, right? But it's looking for the Intel Pro. Just go to properties, and we'll see we have the Intel Pro desktop adapter here versus this one, which is our network adapter 2. And this one's associated with our internet NIC, which I've disabled uh, for this lab today. Now, one of the key takeaways here is just how the performance monitor gives us graphs. And this graph, for example, allows us to easily see what's different in our network. Basically, we're able to see current patterns and also see any anomalies or strays away from those patterns, which is great when doing comparisons with our baselines. to the current, if we have any network performance. And with that, uh, this concludes today's hands-on exploration of our performance monitor and transferring files, and using a little bit of Wireshark. Again, thank you for watching and making it this far, those of you that did. We went into a few, many different concepts, uh, but a big thanks. And just to actually see, we did the file transfer, but we never actually saw the file reach this computer. We just want to open up our file explorer, go to our C drive, go to look for big files, and we see our test1 file right here. We use Notepad. We get an error saying it's too large for Notepad. But we're able to see the file, the size of the file, and when it was transferred. So, awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much. This concludes this video. Thank you for joining me.